Lost ended over 10 years ago but, to this day, people still rapidly discuss how it ended, what it all meant, and whether or not any of it made sense. There is a serious lack of videos on YouTube that have attempted, the not-so-easy task, of explaining the mythology of Lost. This video series is here to fill that gap, and it's not just for Lost die-hard fans. It's for the critics too. And the fans that felt cheated by the end. It's also for the fans who enjoyed the show but didn't understand it yet still desperately want to know what the hell was going on. Whether you thought they were dead the whole time or that the series copped out on answering its questions, or simply want an explanation of everything that happened in coherent and concise terms, you have come to the right place. The only people this video series won't be suitable for are those of you who have yet to watch the show. Spoilers will be discussed in detail throughout this video and every video thereafter. I will answer, in detail and across various videos, just what exactly was going on. When it happened, how it happened, and, more importantly, why it happened, so, buckle your seatbelts. It's time for those of you who have been lost since the show finished in 2010 to finally get found. It's time to go back to the island. To understand the events of Lost we must first understand what the light beneath the island is and why everyone was fighting over it. In Across the Sea, Mother tells her two boys that the electromagnetic light at the heart of the island is the source of life, death and rebirth, and that a part of this light exists within every human being in the world. In other words, this light is the elemental force responsible for existence as we know it. An ancient mystic like Mother might call this light inside people a soul, whereas a 21st century scientist like Daniel Faraday might call this light consciousness. Either way, it is the essence of who we are. It is our memories, our emotions, and our collective experiences. We all came from it and we will all return to it in death. When we die, the light inside of us, aka our consciousness, returns to the source. The flash sideways in Season 6 of Lost is the visual representation of this process. It is a subjective dream state where the characters can slowly let go of their mortality before rejoining with the source, accompanied by their soulmates, who bonded with them in life. Time has no meaning in this construct of consciousness, which makes sense because it exists inside the light. And the light is made up of electromagnetic photons, and photons do not experience time. This is why everyone arrives in the flash sideways at the same time, even if they died at different points in their lives. Boone died in 2004. Jack died in 2007. Kate died many years later, presumably from old age. Yet they all wake up inside this construct at the same time. Everything that happened in their lives before this, both on and off the island, were real. This is also the reason for why the church fills with light at the end of the series as they prepare to move on. Because the collective consciousness of our losties is being absorbed back into the force that gave them life to begin with. The reason why it was so important to protect the light was because if the light goes out on the island then everyone's inner light goes out too. AKA, we would all simply cease to exist. And the threat isn't just existential, it is literal too. Eloise Hawking explains that there are pockets of electromagnetic energy all around the world, mostly beneath the ocean, that are connected to, and flow out from, the light beneath the island. The island often moves between these points in space-time. There are other geological areas on land that also have pockets. So if the light is endangered, plundered or extinguished at its source, then the light would be affected in those pockets too. We see the beginning of this process happen when the source is essentially turned off in the series finale after Desmond uncorks it. The island starts to break up and fall apart, it starts to sink. This would happen to all of the other pockets around the world. Land masses breaking up and sinking and sea beds quaking, causing untold destruction and devastation across the planet. Global catastrophe. Protecting the island was of the utmost importance. Now, let us go through the quick timeline of the island's history in order to understand what we see down in the cave in the series finale. One of the key themes in Lost is that history repeats itself over and over. Throughout the island's lifetime, people have always arrived on its shores and caused conflict, often fighting one another over the power that lies beneath their feet. Before Dharma caused the incident in 1977, a similar event happened centuries before. Let's call it the Ancient Incident. Sometime after the creation of the smoke monster and the start of Jacob's tenure as protector, the Egyptians arrived and settled on the island. During their time there, they erected many structures, including the statue and the temple. Note the temple's healing pool designed specifically to cure ailments and wounds. The water flowing into that pool is being channeled directly from the Cave of Light several miles away. Which means that the Egyptians would need to have gone down into the cave in order to build a drainage system and a network of tunnels. And they could have only done this with the permission and guidance of Jacob, who was still a naive young man. It is during the construction of this system that many Egyptian colonists died from the radiation exposure, hence why there are skeletons down there. Eventually, an incident was triggered when they tried to dig up the light. This destabilized the core of the source and caused a leak, extremely similar to what happened with Dharma. The Egyptians had a more primitive solution. They plugged the leak with a cork and designed a coolant system in which water stops the source from overheating and burning out. To remove the cork would be the equivalent of not entering the numbers on the computer in the hatch. Only there is no fail-safe key to save the day. Finally, and most crucially, the island is alive. The Cave of Light is described as the heart of the island, and the many rivers and streams that flow above, under and across the island channel the light's healing properties like a circulatory system. The source has a will of its own. It is the prime mover behind every single event on the show. In Chapter 2 we will explore Jacob and the Man in Black, and exactly how their powers work and the nature of their conflict. Until then, thanks for watching. And stay lost.